Welcome everyone to the game between Hans Niemann and Magnus Carlsen at the Freestyle Chess World Championship 2026. You can see here Hans Niemann enters in, and of course there's a big rivalry between the two players. Magnus pouring himself some water. Hans takes off his jacket. Let's have a look at the position. We have two knights in the corner, a rook, king, bishop, queen, rook and bishop. So very interesting position. You can actually go g4, unleashing your bishop on this square already. The knights can come out here. This bishop could pop out from this way, also from this side. You have to think about the queen, whether you want to get it out from f3 or move a pawn here, come out this way, or from g4 it can go to h3. So all these plans and things need to be thought of, and the players shake hands and we are ready to go. Hans plays his pawn to g4. He opens up the bishop here and attacks the pawn on b7. That's a good move, good first move by Hans Niemann. And Magnus Carlsen now adjusts all his pieces. He takes his time as always for his first move, pours himself some water, and he goes knight c6. Seems like a normal natural move to bring the knight out. But he plays his pawn to c6 and he takes almost 30 seconds on the clock. Pawn to c4 played here. And Hans gets some space in the position. f5 played. And a very interesting move. Magnus wants to get his queen activated. Hans takes the pawn. And now queen takes f5. Maybe develops the queen a bit prematurely. But g6 played to activate the bishop on this long diagonal. Very interesting idea. He goes knight to c3. He doesn't take. By the way, there was a very interesting pawn sacrifice that he could have gone for. Bishop b2, g h7 and play this position. Very interesting one. But instead he goes knight c3, takes, rook takes, queen takes and pawn to d3 played. Defending the pawn. The pawn was attacked from the queen here. And now knight comes out to c7. Would like to play in the center here. Magnus Carlsen. Knight comes out to b3. And knight to a6. The position does look slightly preferable for Hans because of the space he has on the queen side. It's sometimes not so easy to break this space advantage. But I think Magnus has some plans on his mind. One of them being to play pawn to b5. f4 played, a good move by Hans there. He is activating his queen, his bishop here. Bishop f7. Oh, looking for b5 now. Have to be very, very careful. But Hans goes bishop f2 and he misses the point because a7 is attacked. But b5 is such a powerful move. And Magnus, will he find it? I think he's building up towards it. He plays it. Pawn takes pawn. There's bishop takes b3 check and black is better here. So you can't take the pawn. Hans Niemann goes knight to d2. He defends the pawn, but actually take and queen takes. It's just pawn up. Magnus chops off on c4. And Hans takes back. D takes c4. Now bishop takes c4. Seems like a good idea. Will Magnus go for it? Maybe Magnus is not so thrilled. Yes, he takes it. Bishop takes c4. He has a clear advantage now. He's also pawn up. Well, he will lose this a7 pawn, but I think that's a better pawn that he has won on c4. b3 played. And now Magnus can drop his bishop back. He comes back. And with knight coming to b4, bishop takes c3 hanging, a2 pawn under pressure, b3 pawn under pressure. It can become quite dangerous. Bishop takes pawn on a7 and knight b4. Well, even possible here was bishop takes, rook takes and queen g7 with knight b4, knight b5. I mean, many different ideas. But instead of taking here, he goes knight b4 directly. Magnus. Now threatening to take and take here on a2. He comes back, bishop c5, attacking the knight on b4. It's time to chop off the knight on c3. Will Magnus find the strength to capture that knight on c3? It's a best move there, and I think Magnus can spot it. Yes, he takes it. Bishop c3, rook takes c3, and boom, knight takes a2, taken. The rook is attacked, and b3 is weak. Totally winning here. And also notice, if you move the rook away like here, the queen can go from this and attack from a1. It's very powerful. Knight to b5, a good move. The knight is coming to c3 now with both the knights. Black's moves are flowing. King e1, he's trying to run away. I mean, I guess not many people can survive such a position against Magnus Carlsen. Knight to c3. He plays his knight to c3, and Magnus looking really strong here. How does Hans even create some counterplay? He's pawn down, worse position, weaker king. Everything is not working out for him. Thinks through and plays queen to h3. And now a very powerful move. Rook a8 with the idea of rook a1 is killing. Because if king f2, the queen even enters into g1 if needed. And Magnus here thinking about what to do. He needs to find this move. He has 1 minute 24 seconds. He's lower on time on the clock than Hans. He misses it. He goes knight d5, and this gives Hans an opportunity now. Maybe the best move is bishop takes knight. Hans goes rook to g3. He swings his rook over. Magnus must go queen h8 to get the queen in on this diagonal. Yes, he finds it. Queen h8 on the board. And now bishop takes knight. Pawn takes. Bishop check. King e8. Everything's safe here for black. If you give a check, I have bishop f7. Oh, but then queen f5 is hanging. He gives a check. Bishop f7 forced. Kind of, yeah, he plays it. Queen f5. And now check. King f2 and queen a6 hitting the bishop. Looking here. But he misses it. He goes knight d6. And now Hans is back in the game. Queen e5. Offer a trade of queens. And he should be fine. What a fight back. He's won back the pawn. He goes queen e5. And clearly Magnus Carlsen has missed it. Takes, pawn takes. And knight f5. Seems like a good move there. But knight e4 played, and now Hans can take it. He takes it, pawn takes. We have the opposite colored bishop position, but notice that white's pawns look slightly more weaker than black's. Although Hans is saying, I disagree. My b pawn is an incredible passer. Rook comes in. Maybe threatening bishop c4 to attack the e2 pawn. He comes bishop to c5. And if bishop c4 now, there's rook e3. Defending and attacking. So can't do that easily. He goes rook b2. And Hans plays his rook to h3. He's attacking the pawn on h7. Not sure who's playing for a win here, but I think it should be Magnus, yeah? His position looks better. He goes bishop g6. He defends the pawn. He also defends his other pawn on e4 with his bishop. Rook goes to a3. One of the things for Hans is that he really believes in himself and he believes that he can hold this. King f7. Can we go rook a7? But then if rook a7, there's king e6 maybe, or bishop f5. So he goes h4. Bishop to f5. And now king f2. Slowly and steadily. Move upwards. King e3, king f4. Magnus brings his king to e6. He's attacking the pawn on e5. And Hans brings the king in. Bishop g4. But what if you were taken here? Bishop d4 and you lose the rook. So bishop here, king e4, bishop takes pawn. In the material is equal. You can't give a check here because the bishop controls that square. You would love to give that check and push the black king away. King f4. And bishop comes back to b5. He goes rook to a5, attacking the bishop. Bishop drops back to c6. And rook a6 pins the bishop. Magnus goes rook to b3. And look at this, maybe somewhere h5 and somewhere some mating ideas if possible. Rook b6, king f7. He's maneuvering it. He's going king g6, h5 and rook f3 is a mate. So rook b8, a strong move. And Magnus, well, he's the right guy to put pressure in this position. He can play h5 here, h5, king takes, and then rook g3 cornering the king, but he goes back and king f4. Hans comes back. Will Magnus repeat here is the question. Well, he goes for a check and h5 once again. No, he comes back, rook b3 and a draw is agreed. Hans Niemann holds a completely lost position against Magnus Carlsen. Great defense there by Hans. He was on the ropes, he was almost losing, but he managed to keep his cool and hold it to a draw. That is a big result for Hans Niemann. And Magnus Carlsen, well, he started off slowly, but that's how he does many times. He then makes a comeback as he puts back his pieces on their freestyle chess position.